Hey there, my friend. Welcome to another episode of the Dinner Made Easy show. If we haven't met yet, I am Erin Chase from $5 Dinners, and every Thursday I share a recipe, a little cooking tutorial, some hacks on how to make dinner easier and more affordable. Definitely something that we are talking a lot about these days with grocery price inflation, and I'm super excited to bring you two things today: a 5 ingredient meal that is from my WizKid kids cooking curriculum, which fun fact, you don't have to be a kid to take advantage of WizKid if you are brand new to cooking, or someone you know is brand new to cooking, just graduating from college, needs a little help in the kitchen. I put together this group of recipes at the beginning of the pandemic to help keep the kids engaged and learning important life skills. And put that together as WizKid, but it could certainly be Wiz Adult as well. So you can check that out on the recipe here that is on the video for this chicken Alfredo pasta bake. There is information about WizKid there on the recipe page. So we're just going to jump right in. So I sort of cheated and started the pasta right here. We need to cook that to al dente, which is usually about 6, 7, 8 minutes, depending on the size of pasta that you're using. So in this case, I'm making a mini penne, the little tiny guys, because I think they're a little bit easier to eat, especially if you've got younger kiddos, and they're just easier to eat for myself as well. So anyways, if I was using the regular penne, I would probably cook to 8 minutes, but this one I'm going to just go ahead and cook to 6 minutes, and then we're going to assemble everything. I'm actually going to do it in a freezer meal tray so I can explain to you like how you can do this as a freezer meal. But you could, of course, mix all this together into a glass baking dish and then bake it, right now. But because this is the morning and because I'm going to be baking this later today, I'm just going to do it as a freezer meal, both to explain it and also because I'm just going to be popping this into the oven. So the pasta is going here. I'm just going to give it a quick swirl. This is one box of mini penne. You can use any medium or small shell pasta is going to work for this. And here are the other ingredients that we're going to be using. See, this is WizKid. You can see this is from our kids cooking curriculum. We have the recipe, we have the tools that you're going to need. We also have the cooking objectives, also comes with super fun stickers. If you need a practical gift that's not a video game for your kid, here you go. You can go to whis-kid.com. I don't have a comments box here. I'm not sure where it went, so I can't comment on that, but it's also, the information is also on the recipe, which is there on the video. So the 5 ingredients are going to be the pasta, broccoli florets. Frozen is easiest to work with. I got rotisserie chicken already shredded. I will give you a quick breakdown of how to do the shred from a whole chicken. I just did this because I needed quick and easy this week. And of course, some shredded cheese. You could do mozzarella, you could do cheddar, and Alfredo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the pasta is going to be 5. This is especially easy because we're just going to mix up everything into the baking dish, and then it is ready to go into the oven. Another reason to use this already shredded chicken is you just have, it's just one less step. Also makes it a little bit easier when kids are learning how to cook. One less thing to do. But what you could do, what I generally do, is I will slow cook a whole chicken. I have this recipe on $5 dinners as well, with some herbs, maybe some onions or garlic, things like that. Keep it simple. And then once it's done slow cooking, then I'll pull all of the dark and white meat off and then freeze it into meal size portions, generally 2 to 3 cups, depending on what I plan to make for it in the future. I love having rotisserie kind of shredded chicken on hand. I just didn't have any at the moment, which is why I bought the box. Okay, so the pasta we're going to cook to al dente. Al dente means literally to tooth. And it means that you don't want to cook it completely too soft. You want to cook it until when you bite into it, it's got a little bit of cooking left to do, because it is going to finish cooking in the dish with the other sauce and ingredients. There's going to be a little bit of liquid from the broccoli, and of course the Alfredo sauce is going to finish cooking that. It'll as it warms up in the oven, it will just perfectly cook through, so you don't end up with overcooked pasta. Anytime you do a pasta bake, you want to make sure to cook it to al dente on the stovetop so that you don't overcook it and it ends up being mushy when you go to do the pasta bake. So another reason why I love this is one, because the ingredients are so easy and so few. The other is that we're literally just going to assemble this in the dish right here. So as soon as I drain this pasta, which will be any minute now, just needs probably one, maybe 2 more minutes, we are going to then mix in here the cooked pasta, the broccoli florets, the shredded chicken. Then we'll mix that together. We'll pour the Alfredo sauce over the top, mix that together, shredded cheese on the top, and it's ready to go either into the oven or into the freezer. So it's just really simple. And I chose this recipe to include in WizKid because I wanted this type of a pasta bake, because once you can kind of assemble a pasta bake like this, there's like hundreds of different ingredient options that you could mix and match. A pasta, different proteins. You could do ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken that you've browned already. You could do ground sausage, like a mild Italian sausage, with some other vegetables and maybe a marinara sauce. So there's lots of different mixing and matching that can happen with this type of cooking method, if you will. All right, I'm going to go 1 more minute. It looks almost ready. If you want to test this out, what you can do, you can literally bite it. Al dente means to tooth. I'll bite it. We should rename al dente to I'll bite it. I'm just joking. Okay, so here's one thing that you can do. Actually gonna set this down. I'm not gonna bite that because it's steaming hot and I don't want to burn my tongue. Isn't that the worst when you burn your tongue? You can come and cut through here, and you want it to be a little bit gummy and a little bit sticky. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is al dente. It's ready to be drained and transferred into this baking dish. So before I do that, I do need to spray the dish just to prevent any stickiness. So just a non-stick cooking spray. I'm using a disposable tray because I'm going to put this in the freezer. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to pretend to put it in the freezer for the sake of the video. I'm actually going to cook it later today. This is going to be so nice to just have dinner already ready to go. And all I have to do is just pop it into the oven later. And literally it's a full meal. It's got the veggies, it's got the protein, it's got the pasta. I actually have some fruit I need to cut up, so I might serve that on the side. Okay, let me get these drippies out. Hang on. Got my strainer right here. I don't want to drip all over the place. Okay, so we're just going to go right in here like this. You can, oops, the mini penes. You guys see those? They're super tiny and cute. They're at least half the size of the other kind. All right, so then we are going to do our broccoli. These are the florets. This was frozen. I just warmed them up. They, of course, will continue to warm and cook through when let me do it this way. There, look at how beautiful, filling up the screen. Okay, so then we are going to do the shredded chicken. I'm just going to dump it in. Some of these pieces are a little bit larger, so I might end up cutting. Let me get my kitchen shears. Some of these, I really want these to be bite size. So I'm going to cut a little bit of this, just kind of like, almost like I'm running my knife through it, but I'm just going to cut just so that this gets to be a little bit more bite size. You get it like a giant bite of chicken with a half a piece of broccoli and one pasta. We really want each bite to have a little bit of flavor and from each of the ingredients that are in here. All right, so I'm going to just cut that up like that. I'm going to give this just a gentle toss in the dish. See how easy this is? And we don't need another bowl. This is perfectly fine to do this, right? Just gentle. Just incorporate. And then the next thing that we're going to do is pour the Alfredo sauce right over the top. And just like I do with marinara, look at how much sauce is left in here. That's a lot of sauce. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. With marinara, I usually just add like 2-3 tablespoons of water, rinse it out, and then you get like that tomato sauce. But for Alfredo sauce, you can do the same thing with milk. Raise your hand if you think that's amazing. You could use water, but milk's going to give you a creamier sauce. So let me just swirl that around real quick. We want as much of this goodness. I can see some of this pepper hanging out over here. Like I want that pepper in my dish. Okay, so we just shake that up. You can see how loose that got off. That really got all the, and it's not going to change the consistency of this really. We're going to then pour this all over and then we're going to mix that in. How about that for a fun hack on a Thursday? If you're not doing that already with your marinares and your Alfredos, now you know. And then I'm just going to do this. It will, as it warms up in the oven, this with the sauce will kind of, I don't want to say drip. It's not a super thin sauce, but it will fully incorporate with everything that's in here. But we do want to give it a little bit of help here. All right, and that's that. This is ready for the cheese topping. So, two options here. If you were going to freeze this, you could add the cheese now, cover with foil, let it cool down in the fridge for a couple of hours before you transfer the freezer. The reason I say that is because this pasta is still warm and you don't want to put warm into the freezer because that increases your risk of freezer burn and increases the possibility of that extra condensation and those crystals. We do not want that to happen. So I always say cool everything down before you put it in the freezer. So I would just put this in the fridge for 2 hours and then transfer to the freezer. So you can add cheese or not add cheese at this point. That's completely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and add the cheese. Cheese at the top of a casserole in a freezer meal, it tends to stick to the foil. You can do that, but you don't have to. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and add it. You need, 1.5 to 2 cups. Give it a good thick layer. Cheddar would work as well. I have cheddar and mozzarella right now. I'm choosing mozzarella. I want the flavors of the Alfredo sauce to really talk to us with this one. So that's why I'm going with a little bit milder mozzarella. And then, of course, you could bake it like this. If I were going to bake this right now, I would just bake it like this at 350 for 20 minutes just to get that nice and warmed through and get the cheese to fully melt on top. If I was going to freeze this, then I would just put foil right on top, wrap it up, put it in the fridge to cool down, and then transfer it into the freezer. And after it's been frozen, there's 2 ways to bake it. The first way is to let it thaw in the fridge probably for 2 days. A thicker freezer meal like this, like a pasta casserole type freezer meal, is not going to thaw enough overnight. So you're going to want to thaw this for probably 2 days in the fridge. There is a way that you can quick thaw this by resting this dish into a 9x13 glass baking dish with water, and the water will help it thaw faster from the bottom. So you can quick thaw this, but you're going to want to give it probably 2 days or an overnight plus a day in the fridge before you bake it. So baking from once it's thawed out, you would just bake it as directed, 350 for about 20, maybe 25 minutes until it's warmed through and all the cheese is melted on top. If you are going to bake this from frozen, you're going to at least double the bake time. Keep it covered with foil. Bake it and it will, with the foil on, bake it covered with the foil and it will thaw out, and then towards the end of the baking time, take the foil off and let the cheese finish melting through on top. So there's kind of 2 ways to bake from frozen, either baking from frozen or thawing it out and baking from thawed out. So that's that. 5 ingredients. Super quick recap coming your way. This is from my WizKid Kids Cooking Curriculum and Workbook that has 21 lessons plus sticker sheets and certificates and videos that go with each of the ones. Very similar to what we just did here. They're a little bit different. The videos are me instructing my kids to cook this, so you can literally cook alongside my kids as I'm teaching them. I'm also teaching you or your kids, if you need to learn how to cook. Whisk kid could also be whisk adult, doesn't matter. So this is what we are cooking from today. This is a fabulous gift if your kiddos have any interest in cooking. If you or you, whoever, your niece, your nephew, somebody you know who just graduated from college, whoever, newlyweds, anybody who has either the need or interest to learn how to cook, this is a great starter option, the Whisk Kid Kids Cooking Curriculum. All right, I'm going to go cover this, put it in the fridge so that I can bake it later for our dinner. So that's what I got for you on this week's episode of the Dinner Made Easy show. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.